Let's go. Page 38 in the Hein. After the flood, let's see what happens. Yud Ches, verse 18. Vayuv v'nei Noach, the sons of Noach, Hayetzim min hatevel, came out of the ark. Shem v'cham Yafes, or Shem Cham Yafes. V'cham hu Avi Canaan, and Cham was the father of Canaan. Cham was the father of Canaan. Lama Hutzrach Lemerkan, why was it necessary to mention this here? Visha Pasha Suko Bab Shichrus Shaluk Noach, Shekilkul Bacham Vel Yadin is Kal Canaan. Because this section goes on to deal with Noach's drunkenness. So it starts off with a little family tree. These are the sons of Noach, Shem Cham Yafes. And Cham was the father of Canaan. So if you want to say the names of the sons, fine. Why tell the one grandson? Because he's part of the upcoming story. And that's why this kid, Canaan, gets cursed later on. And since the Torah did not write the descent of Cham yet, we knew he had 3 sons. We didn't know they're the grandsons. We did not know that Canaan was Cham's kid. It was therefore necessary to mention here that Cham was the father of Canaan. It's like the intro to the show, right? They list the characters and it's starring as, so and so. So we're saying who's the relevant character of the upcoming story. These 3 were the sons of Noach. And from them the whole world dispersed. Chav. The master of the soil degraded himself, Vayita Karem, and planted a vineyard. Vayachal, he degraded himself. Osatz mechulin. Vayachal's unusual word. It means he made himself chul. Chul means ordinary, nothing special. Because he should have first occupied himself with planting something else. Vayachal could also mean he began, right? He began to replant and started with a vineyard. Noach, man of the earth, farmer of the earth, began and planted a vineyard. But Rashi says that's not the best translation. There are commentaries that say that. Rashi says that doesn't work because that's superfluous. Like, Noach scratched his head. Why tell me he began? Obviously, he's beginning, right? So there's the reason the word Vayachol means that he degraded himself by this first planting. By why? Dealing with making wine, which is an intoxicating, item. In other words, wine could bring a person to joy, but could also bring you to frivolity. So Noach should have made like something that's like unequivocally useful to man, not like sometimes good, sometimes not. There was a line. I went to buy wine for an event we're doing. They had a good line. They had good, funny in the liquor store. It says, I forgot. It was a cute line. It was like, money can't buy happiness, but it could buy wine, which is kind of the same thing.
That's in front of the
Pinnacle, right? Pinnacle Liquor.
Pinnacle Liquor, yeah.
So I thought it was cute, but it's wine could be destructive. Mm-hmm. So Noach should not have gone on, like a luxury item that could be good and bad, but should have made bread or planted. I don't know. Should plant tofu or something. Soy. Ish Adama, the matter of the soil. He's the master of the soil. Ish means the master. For example, Ish Naomi, Naomi's husband. Ish Adam, a man that belongs to the earth, right? Rather, a man in possession of the earth. Anyways, moving on. Planted a vineyard. When he entered the ark, he brought in with him vine branches and shoots of fig trees. Like, where do you get, the seeds for this? The world was destroyed. It says he brought into the ark. I thought he brought more than just two things. Like, he brought all types of, I think,
Didn't say,
I don't think it talks about it.
branches of flower.
No, I'm saying I thought he had a whole, greenhouse going on, like a whole, keeping the seeds of species on. Did Noah bring seeds and plants in ark? What's the source? Miodea, the one that Gary found the other day. Someone asked the question, there's no mention of Noah bringing plants to the ark. So how did plants survive the flood? Someone asks. It seems he did bring plants or seeds. Let's go on. The classic question in the Gutnik Chumash, which is the other Chumash we have here. So here's the different opinions. You want to know. Rabbi Levi in the Medrash says that the floodwaters did not fall inside the land of Israel. If so, even if all the plants in the rest of the world were destroyed, that would not mean the extinction of the plants because they would have survived in the land of Israel. The Ramban, Nachmanides says, since the world is filled with water, there weren't strong enough currents that would uproot trees, and the trees survived the flood. The Barbanel says the branches from the destroyed trees were floating in the water. As the flood subsided, the branches took root. Ralbag says that he brought in seeds, and he brings three reasons why the Torah doesn't mention this. Ralbag, Rabbi Levi ben Gershon, who's a huge astronomer. There's like a crater on the moon, I think, named after him.
Wow.
I think so. Or maybe he's in the Spanish, Rabbi. He said, I'm looking here. Whatever. Moving along. Let's go on. Yeah, question. We do it? Oh, man. Okay. All right. Let's go quicker. Chaf Aleph. Vayesh min hayayim yishkar, Noach drank from the wine and became drunk, v'yiskal b'sech ha'aloi, and he uncovered himself inside his tent. Chaf Aleph v'yiskal loshen v'yispael, he uncovered himself. This is the hispal reflexive form. Aloi, he was uncovered in his tent. It's written with a hey, which could be vowelized as Allah. Why? Why is it with a vav? A hint to the 10 tribes that were known as the Shomron in the north of Israel, which were also called Ahala in Ezekiel, and who were exiled for their indulgence in wine. As it says, they drank wine in large vessels. So it's a reference, hint to the future. Chabez. Cham, the father of Canaan, performed indecent acts on his father, and he told it to his two brothers outside. Cham, the father of Canaan, performed. It says he saw the nakedness of his father, and he told it to his two brothers outside. Rashi. So the little translation.
He performed indecent. What do you mean he performed?
So ignore them. They jumped the gun in the translation. The simple meaning is he saw his father's nakedness. That's the simple meaning. So Rashi, then they're just kind of like paraphrasing Rashi, but let's see what Rashi says.
Hein is okay.
Ham, the father of Canaan, saw. Some of rabbis say that, why mention Canaan? That Canaan saw it and he told his father, who then tattletale to the brothers. Therefore, it mentions Canaan here because he becomes cursed through it. Vayaris Heves Aviv, the sages said that it's not taken literally, that he just saw. Some say that he actually castrated his father, and some say that he committed sodomy with him.
Right.
But wouldn't it be
Because
more
why
likely
can't it be-
castration?
The question is, why does Rashi or why did the rabbis not take it for face value of saw, right? Because later on in verse 24, it's going to say, Noach realized what his son had done to him. And seeing is not doing. Doing is doing. What was done to him, something that was, right? So it has to be more euphemistically seeing, that something referring, kind of being prudish of what was done.
So isn't telling your brother is also doing something?
I guess not, because it wasn't done to,
He didn't.
Noach woke up and he saw what was done to him. They spoke gossip about him. It's not so strongly doing, I guess,
Okay.
I don't know. Chav Gimel.
Well, if it was
Vayikash-
sodomy, what it would have done? It would have corrupted this Noach's mind to the point that he wouldn't want to have any more children.
If it was sodomy, I don't know. I guess it wasn't that. No, I'm not sure. Like, it was just disgusting. It was against the Noahide laws. That his son
Sodomy
should
in the
surprise
Noah
him.
is counted as one of the Noahide laws.
In general, the Noahide laws have a lot more details. There are kind of 7 categories. So there's a lot more details to them. But anyways,
Where are they written down most completely? Where would you say?
I have books on it. You want a book? I have a book. I have a book on it. You want the details? There's books. You can after the class. We can look online. I can
All
tell
right.
you. Okay. Chav Gimel. Vayikach Shem v'Yafes esesem laviyisim al Shechem shneim v'yochach Haranis v'yichas Heves Avim ufneimach Haranis Heves Avim le'ra'u. Shem and Yafes took the garment and they placed it on Shechem. I'm sorry, they placed it on their shoulders of both of them, and they walked backwards and they covered their father's nakedness, and their faces were backwards the whole time. Their father's nakedness they did not see, and repeats itself. We'll see Rashi will say why. Shem and Yafes took. It's not written here. They took, rather he took. This teaches you why does it say if it's 2 people, it should be they took, not he took. We're gonna plant bananas after this. He took and they took. So why is it written in the singular if it's talking about 2 people? This tells you that Shem was more the initiator of this mitzvah. Therefore, his sons got the mitzvah, kind of a reward from this, that they merited.
And we know that it's shame because Yikach is singular.
Yeah, yeah. And therefore, they got the mitzvah. The Shem is the ancestor of the Jews who got tzitzis, a clothed, type mitzvah. Yafes, his descendants deserve a proper burial, because it says in Yechezkel, I will give Gog a place for a graveyard, but of Ham, Gog comes from Yafes. But of Ham, who humiliated his father, says about his descendants, so shall the king of Assyria lead them away, the captives of Egypt, and the exiles of Cush, young and old, naked and barefoot, with the behinds exposed. Basically, his descendants get humiliated in the future, being naked and bare. Ufnei Haranis, their faces were turned the other way. Why does the Torah repeat itself that their faces were the other way? This tells you that when they came close to cover him, they turned away even more. Meaning, they walked backwards, then you can't do it backwards, so they went forward, but their faces were not looking. Turn, yeah. Yochav Dalav, he gets Nech awoke from his wine and do sleep. And he realized what his Bnei HaKatan, his younger son, did to him. Rashi translates it as not literally the youngest, but rather the most disgraceful son. As we see, the term katon can mean the most insignificant son. Chav hey vayim aro Canaan. He said, "Cursed is Canaan. Eved of Adam yelechav. Let him be a subjugated slave to his brothers." Chav hey aro Canaan. Cursed be Canaan. You caused me not to have another fourth son to serve me. According to Pinna, he was castrated. Then you know what? Cham, your fourth son shall be cursed to serve the descendants of your better brothers, who from now on are the ones who are going to be the ones to carry on my legacy and my service. Now, Rashi now says, why did Cham seek to castrate his father? What a ridiculous and disgusting thing. Here was his calculation. Adam had two sons. What happened? They killed one killed the other because he wanted to be the who's going to be the master of the earth. Our father, now the world is starting over, the new world. Our father's got three sons. If he adds a fourth son, it'll be more fights. So no more sons.
We don't know that's the truth, though. But it's
Wait a second.
One chain of logic.
What?
It's one possible chain of logic, but we
Versus
don't know
what?
it's the absolute truth that there was castration.
Yeah, there's different opinions.
Yeah.
No, yeah, in general, if you really want to, it takes a lot of time and following the rabbit hole of, let's say it's the other opinion. They just sodomized him, and what happens next, and why? Rashi doesn't bother explaining that. Okay, so I understand it's disgusting, but why did he do it? No reason. He just had a perverse desire to do that to him. Like Rashi goes more with the first. In general, Rashi picks the first. Whatever Rashi quotes first, that opinion is his primary pick. For whatever reason, and in this case,
castration is more than just it's a terrible act, but that's actually, doing a horrible thing to deface his father's body.
Right, and primarily it stops the father from having children.
Yeah. And that's the obvious thing that happens, is that he
right, and that's why Rashi, I guess Rashi likes that better because then explains why all the particulars of the curse. Why is Cham's fourth son getting the curse? Like, of all things, first of all, why not Cham himself? The commentaries, the super commentaries say that Cham was Noach. God blessed the son, so he didn't want to counteract that blessing. But then why the fourth son? Why not his Bechor? Why not his eldest son? So based on the castration narrative, it makes sense. Anyways, Chavav. Vayomer, and Noach further said, Baruch Hashem lekei Shem, blessed is the God of shame. Vihi Canaan eved lame, and Canaan will be a slave to him. Rashi, Baruch Hashem lekei Shem, blessed is Hashem, the God of shame. In the future, Hashem will fulfill his promise to Shem's descendants and give them the land of Canaan. Vihi lahem Canaan lamas David, and Canaan will pay them a tax of physical servitude. Chav Zayin. And what's the reward for the other good brother? Yafta lokim lefes. May God expand Yefes's borders. And may he dwell in the tents of shame. Is
this an explanation for the whole slave trade in the last 1,000 years?
Possibly. I don't know. It wasn't just Canaanites that were slaves. There were other, people took other people that were slaves also, but maybe prior to something. Well, the truth, they translate, to be honest, that I don't have to right or wrong, and we see a Kas Chumash to have an idea here. Thank you. Yeah. I don't know, maybe. Look it up in the book of Genesis. If you want to know more, the Yankee Tower, the red book, will have more on this. That's where you can do a lot of homework of seeing further.
After I take medicine.
Yafta Lakim Liefes, and Canaan will be a servant to him as well. Rashi, unusual word, Yafta Lakim Liefes. So Rashi translates as Unkelis, may Hashem expand the borders of Yefes. And he should dwell in the tents of shame. Yash Shekhinos to be Israel, that he may he set his divine presence among the people of Israel. So actually, it's going back to another blessing for shame he holds. But the Midrash of the Chacham in the Gemara says, even though Yafta Lakim Liafis, even though God enlarged Yefes, because Yefes, the Greeks came from Yefes. Koresh, a descendant of Yefes, built the second temple, which was bigger and higher than the first temple. Yet the divine presence did not dwell there. Where then did it dwell? In the first temple, which was built by Shlomo, who was descendant of Shem.
So who are the Yefes is the ancestor
of many
Persians,
people, among
yeah.
them the Persians. I think the Greeks also. I think I'm yeah. So the way the Medrash says, even though Hashem will expand Yefes to have an empire over Israel, which will include the second temple, the Shekhinah will not dwell there. That'll only be in the first temple when it's under direct dominion of Shem's descendants, Shlomo. Cannot be a servant to them. Even after the sons of Shem will be exiled, slaves from the sons of Canaan will be sold to them. Even after the sons of Shem will be exiled, slaves from Canaan will be sold to them. Slaves from Canaan will be sold to them. Yeah. All right, moving along. Noach lived for 350 years. After the flood, all the years, days of Noach were 950 years. He died. All right. Moving along. We're making headway. It's long. Aleph, Eila tells us Noach Shem Cham Yafes. These are the sons of Noach's son, Shem Cham Yafes. Children were born to them after the flood. And children were born to them after the flood. Okay, so now a little descendant tree. And I want to say, if you look up in the book of Genesis, it's very fascinating when it lists all these people. He gives a ton of commentaries that say who are the eventual descendants of those original nations, like the Gauls, the Carpathians. Like, it's just interesting to hear that, Okay. Beis, Bnei Yafes, Gomer, Maga. It's in the sidebar about these verses on the Yankee Tower, the red Chumash. Bnei Yafes, Gomer, Magog. The sons of Yafes were Gomer, Magog, Umadai, Yavan, Tuval, Umeshach, Vesiras. Gimel, Bnei Gomer. Gomer's sons were Ashkenaz, Rifas, Vesogarma. Ashkenaz, Rifas, and Sogarma. Daled, Bnei Yavan. Yavan's sons were Elisha, Vesarshish, Kittim, Vidoidanim. Hey, from these island inhabitants of the nations diverged in the respective lands, according to their own language according to their clans, among their nations. Rashi, Tiras is Pras, by the way. Just it's Paras is Persia.
Ah. Free. Okay.
Moving along. Bnei Cham, Chan's sons were Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, Uknan. Knan's the youngest. Zayin, Uvnei Cush, the sons of Cush were Sva, V'Chavila, V'Savta, V'Rama, V'Savtecha, Uvnei Rama, Shva, Udadon. Ches, Cush, Yolad es Nimrod, Cush fathered Nimrod, who Hechalias Gibab Earth, he began to be strong on earth, which they translate Rashi as actually Lias Gibor, he began, or he, they translate this. The first man who acted as a rebeller on earth. Through the scheme he devised to generations punished by dispersion. All right, Tess. Who haya gibor tzayil of Hashem? He was an ensnaring power before provoking Hashem. Al ken yamar. It would therefore be said, "Ki Nimrod gibor tzayil of Hashem." Therefore be said, like Nimrod, an ensnaring power provoking Hashem. Tez gibor tzayid, mighty hunter. Sod daitan shabrias pipim matan limited b'makim. Nimrod ensnared the minds of people with his words, misleading them to rebel against Hashem. Lefnei Hashem, before Hashem, miskavin lakniti alpanav. He was a mighty hunter, means he was really a mighty trickster. He was a clever word trapper. Because his main thing is he caused a rebellion against God.
Why?
Lefnei Hashem, before Hashem, to spite Hashem. Al ken yamar, it would therefore be said, Al kol al marshia ba'az panam yidei ribonim miskan l'rabai yamar zekim gibor tzayid. Famous line I've quoted before. Nimrod, it would therefore be said about, he was such a bad guy that he became paradigm like Nimrod, the ensnaring power who provoked Hashem, who knows Yodea Ribono, he knows God, umiskaven Nimrod bo, and intends to rebel, to spite Hashem. Yud Aleph. Yud, but he ereish mamlachte Bavel ve'erech ve'akad v'chalne ve'eretz v'shinar. His original kingdom was Bavel, as well as Erech, Akkad, Kalne, in the land of Shinar. Yud Aleph. Min ha'aretz he yatsa Ashur. Ashur left the land and built Nivneh. But even as Ninveh, and he built Ninveh, as Rechev Ir, as Kalach, Chovazir and Kalach. Yud Aleph Rashi. Ashur left that land. Once Ashur saw that his sons were listening to bad guy Nimrod to become rebellious against Hashem, to build the tower, Ashur left from them. And it says a beautiful thing in the Gemara, Ashur is rewarded for leaving the land where his kids and grandkids were becoming, rebellers. What's he rewarded with? That we write the Torah in a special font. It's called Ksav Ashurit, Ashur's font, Assyrian script. Yud Beis, Vesresen ben Ninveh ben Kalach, Resnoj ben Ninveh and Kalach. Here, Agdol, this is the great city. Yud Beis, the great city. Ninveh was a great city. It was a godly size, large city. Yud Aleph Mitzrayim, Yoaz Ludim es Hanomim es Lahavim es Naftuchim. The Mitzrayim followed Ludim, Hanomim, Lahavim and Naftuchim. Lahavim, they were so called because their faces were like a flame. I guess they had really, angry faces or something. Yodav is Parsusim. Do you want to know exactly? Yeah. Fiery faces, red, I guess. Yodalid, Ves Parsusim, Ves Kasluchim, Ashiatz Misham. The Parsusim and Kasluchim came from them. Plishtim, Ves, that from those came out the Plishtim, Ves Kaftorim, Rashi. So it says that the Plishtim and Kaftorim came from both the Pasrusim and the Kasluchim because they were very immoral. They would swap wives, and the Plishtim came from both of them. Right? You have one family that the real father was the child, another father, another guy. So it says it came. These two nations didn't come like this nation came from that, and this one came from that. No, it came from both of them because of this unfortunate forbidden relationship mixing. Tezvav. Uchnan yolas tidon b'cher v'esches. Uchnan father tidon is first one ches. Tezayin v'esyavusi v'esamari v'esagashi. That you see that you marry the gashi. Yizayim v'esachiv v'esararki v'esasini. The chivi ark in the city. Yudches v'esavradi v'esatzamari v'esachamasi. V'achanafoitim v'shches kanani. The Arvadi, the Samari, and the Chamasi. After some of these spread the many families of the Kanani. Afterwards, they spread from these families, spread many families. Yod Tes. The borders of the land of the Kanani were from Sidon to Aza. The borders of the lands of the Kanani were from Sidon to Aza. In the direction of Gerar into Elasha, in the direction of Sodom, Amorah, Admah, Tzvayim, Yod Tes. Kavula Kanani, Sefer Artzai, the borders of the Kanani, which means the end of his land. Wherever the word Gavul occurs, it signifies end or extremity. I'm sorry. The borders of the land of the Kanani were from Tzin to Aza, in the direction of Gerar into Elasha, in the direction of Sodom, Amorah, Admah, Tzvayim. Boacha means the word's a noun. I'm the opinion, though it's a colloquial expression, as when someone says other, this border extends until you come to such a place. The border went till Boacha, or it comes at you're coming, like until you come to this place. Aza, when you come to Aza. Right. Almost done. Three more pages. Chaf. Elav Necham, these are the sons of Cham, for the families and the language, in their languages, in their countries, by the nations. Okay. According to their languages, even though they had many different languages and lands, they're all ultimately from one father, Cham. Chafal, L'Shem Yulad Gamu. Shem was born also children. Avi Kol Aver, the father of all of the inhabitants of the other side of the a river. Achi Yefes Hagadol, the brothers of Yefes, the oldest, Rashi. Avi Kol Aver, the fathers of the inhabitants of the other side of the river, Pras. Those were Shem. Achi Yefes Hagadol, the brother of Yefes, the oldest. I don't know if Yefes is the Gadol or Shem, because the language is ambiguous here. However, since it says Shem was in his 100th year, 2 years after the flood, it can be deduced that Yefes was the oldest, because Noah was 500 when he began to have kids, and the Mabul came the flood when he was 600. Comes out the oldest son was 100 years old. And Shem, it says he wasn't 100 till 2 years after, so he must have been younger than the oldest. Achi Yefes, the brother of Yefes, not the brother of Cham, because these two are real brothers in arms, honoring their father, but Cham was disgracing their father. Chabez, Bnei Shem, Elam, Ba'ashur, Ba'pachshav, V'lud, V'aram, sons of Shem were those people. Bnei Aram, the sons of Aram were Utz, V'chul, V'ges, V'arama, V'mas, Chavda, V'arpachshav, Yolad, Shalach, V'shalach, Yolad, Zever, Chavhei, V'le'ever, Yulash, Nevanim, Ever, two sons, Shem Echad, Peleg, Kivyam, Niflaka Aretz, V'shem Achiv, Yaktan. The first kid's name was Peleg, for in his days the world was dispersed, and his brother's name was Yaktan. Niflaga.
Aver was the one who had the yeshiva that Jacob went to, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the kid was Peleg because in his days the people were dispersed. When he dispersed, that all the languages and the people were all scattered and dispersed. From here we learn that Aver was a prophet, since he named his sons for a future event. For we learn in the Seder Olam that the dispersion took place at the end of Peleg's life. Should you claim that it took place at the beginning of his life and he was named for the prevailing situation and not for a prophecy, I reply that Yaktan was his younger brother and he had fathered several families beforehand. And it says Yoktan fathered. And only afterwards it says the whole world, dispersed. And if you claim dispersion occurred in the middle of his life, my reply is the verse does not leave itself ambiguous when it can be interpreted to be expressing a specific time. And therefore you can deduce that they were dispersed in the year of Peleg's death. You get that? Okay. Yokta. Get that? Someone? Yokta. Yokta means little one. He was humble and self-effacing. He was therefore privileged to establish all these families. Wow. Chavav. Yoktan li'olis al-moided v'shalaf. Yoktan father al-moded and shalaf. It's chatzar mavis and yarech. Chatzar mavis and yarech. Okay. Chavda is Hein. Ves hadoram ves uzav ves dikla. Hadar muzal and dikla. Ves oval ves avima ves shva. And oval avima and shva. Chav ches. Chatzar mavis is the name of his town. He was named after his town. They lived in the shadow of death because they were very poor. They're always, brink of death. Anyways, that's the Medrash says there. Moving on, Chavtes. V'yes Ophir, v'es Chavila, v'es Yavav, Kolela b'nei Yaktan. There's the son of Yaktan. Lama, hi moshava mimesha, v'yachas svara hara kedem. Lamed Aleph. Their settlements extended from the Mesha towards Safar, Eastern Mountain. Lamed Aleph, Elav b'nei Shem, these are the sons of Shem, Mishpachosam, l'Shuram, by their families, according to the language, Baratzos and L'Goyim, by their countries, according to their nations. These are the families of Noach's kids, according to their descendants, in the order of the birth, according to the nations. These from these the nations dispersed on earth after the flood.